Republican Brent Scowcroft backs Clinton, served as national security advisor to Presidents George H.W. Bush and Gerald Ford, worked in the White House of Presidents Richard Nixon and George W. Bush, and he said his endorsement, it was released hours after the Republican presumptive nominee Donald Trump launched a broad attack on Clinton's experience, her honesty and foreign policy experience. And Scowcroft said, she brings deep expertise in international affairs and a sophisticated understanding of the world, which I believe are essential for the commander-in-chief. So along now with Richard Armitage, it's a big deal. And Brent Scowcroft is so highly respected here in the state of Utah, is in the Hinckley Institute Hall of Fame, was born in Ogden, Utah. We have the Hinckley Institute director, Jason Perry, on the line with us, who is traveling outside the country today. And Jason, you have been most helpful this morning, and I know we might have a little sketchiness with the cell phone, but thank you for joining us here on the Doug Wright Show.
Great to be with you.
Let's talk about Brent Scowcroft and his significance in politics. What led him to be inducted into the Hinckley Institute Hall of Fame?
Well, we have several things relating to General Scowcroft here in the state of Utah. Not only is he a Utah boy, as you mentioned, from Ogden, Utah, but really he has been a great resource for the University of Utah as well. Every year we take our students to meet with him in Washington, D.C. He comes to the Hinckley Institute. He teaches classes. He teaches us about foreign policy. He's very much connected still to the state of Utah and to the Hinckley Institute of Politics. And because of his amazing life of service, we inducted him into the Hinckley Hall of Fame in 2008.
How significant is this going to be with people like Richard Armitage? And then we have Brent Scowcroft now. And we've had so many other prominent Republicans like Mitt Romney saying, I can't vote for Donald Trump. And, who he will ultimately vote for, write in, whatever, third party, who knows. What effect will these heavy hitters in foreign policy and national security, what effect might this have?
Well, it's going to start having a big impact when you start seeing names like General Scowcroft following name after name of really the most brilliant minds in foreign policy coming out supporting Hillary Clinton. It really shows an interesting aspect from people who are not just experts in the field, but these are people in their careers which are really not talking about party anymore. They're talking about the importance of the role of America around the world and experience in foreign policy. This is bigger than just politics. And when you start seeing people like General Scowcroft talking, their only dog in this fight really is America. And that's why it may have an impact.
It's interesting, too, because it's not like General Scowcroft has been on board with every single thing. He has differed, and this is pointed out in this article that I've been referencing. His views have differed from Clinton's in the past, including a divide over the wisdom of invading Iraq. That's a step that Clinton supported at the time, and Scowcroft did not. So you start wondering about the cumulative effect on this. And as this moves into, we're getting closer and closer to the Republican National Convention now. We were talking about our travel arrangements yesterday. We are going to be back there. This cumulative momentum, is that going to play at the convention, or will it play strictly within individual voters and their conscience?
I think this is going to play out in both places. Certainly with the voters right now, endorsements matter. And for those in the state of Utah, but certainly for General Scowcroft and Armitage around the country, those that watch these kinds of things, for those that are concerned about Donald Trump's experience in foreign policy or how America will be perceived around the world, they are certainly taking note now as well. But sort of the establishment looks at these folks and they care about their opinions. General Scowcroft has advised on both sides of the aisle, and he has not just followed the party line for the Republicans either, as you mentioned. So that's why you're going to see these people saying, maybe this is bigger than politics, maybe it's bigger than any one of us. It's something we should pay attention to.
It is interesting, as you mentioned, President Obama, for example, just has nothing but praise for Brent Scowcroft. And if I understand it correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Scowcroft actually helped President Obama put together his team of national security advisors.
He did. He did help put that together. I think the phrase from President Obama was, I love that guy. He certainly has helped him in the past.
Yeah. So, again, how this is going to actually be digested. And I won't say by Trump supporters, because I have become absolutely convinced in conversations on the air and meeting them in person, not only in the state of Utah, but back in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and also back in Manchester, New Hampshire. I think Donald Trump is absolutely right. He could step out onto Fifth Avenue, he could shoot somebody, and his folks would say, well, the guy deserved it. But with others who are agonizing over that decision, they go, I'm a lifelong Republican. This is something I can hardly even imagine jumping the fence and voting Democrat, much less for Hillary Clinton. But I'm agonizing over whether or not I can vote for Donald Trump. I think Scowcroft and Armitage and others, I think that will start having an effect with the folks.
Yeah, for those people who are hesitating or see these potential deficiencies, the cumulative effect is certainly one that we are noticing right now in terms of polls and that around the country. And it's interesting to note Donald Trump was not mentioned by name inside this endorsement at all, but maybe not saying anything is the biggest statement at all.
Yeah, really, almost speaks louder than any words that could have been in there. Jason, you have been very kind today to interrupt your excursion over in. Is this a vacation, or are you over there on business?
It is not. We are here meeting with our interns for the Hinckley Institute and the great companies that so graciously take our interns semester after semester.
You know, I was going to say, if I'm interrupting a family vacation, I almost feel guilty. Not quite, but almost feel guilty. But I'm glad you're over there with those great interns. There's so many wonderful programs at the Hinckley Institute. And by the way, it was great to see you up at the Capitol the other day. That's always a highlight for me each and every year, to speak to the great teachers that you bring together for that yearly gathering. And I appreciated being part of it. It was really fun.
We appreciated having you.
Hey, thank you. Jason Perry with us, interrupting a trip to Amsterdam over there, as he mentioned, meeting with some of the interns, setting the stage for those interns. It is incredible. I mentioned this to some of the teachers up there. For those of us who have had the opportunity to get to know and even interact with the Hinckley Institute and then go elsewhere in our country and even around the world, you would be amazed at how highly respected the Hinckley Institute of Politics is nationally and internationally, and it's a great, great thing that we have here in the state of Utah. 9:47 here at KSL News Radio. And speaking of the Hinckley Institute of Politics, the former director of the Hinckley Institute, who also has quite a relationship with Brent Scowcroft, will join us, and we'll get Kirk Jower's thoughts on this as well. He was the director of the Hinckley Institute when Brent Scowcroft, I may have had the dates wrong on that. I thought it was 2003, but I think Jason said that General Scowcroft was inducted into the Hinckley Institute Hall of Fame in 2008. If that is the case, that's when Kirk Jowers was the director. So we'll talk with Kirk a little later on the program. Coming up, Micah Peters will be joining us from the Pioneer Park Coalition, and also a CEO of a building company. And when you start hearing things from, of all people, Pamela Atkinson, I've called her Utah's Mother Teresa for years, when she says this Rio Grande area has never felt so dangerous. Wow.
Coming up, the all-new JMAC News Show. JMAC's one-of-a-kind take on the news starts at 12:30 on KSL News Radio.